I never thought a simple favor from my neighbor would change my life forever. There I was, sitting in her quiet living room, the kids finally asleep upstairs after a long day of playing and snacks. My hands were shaking as I held that piece of paper, the one I wasn't supposed to find. It was her will, tucked away in a drawer I opened by mistake while looking for some old toys, and what it said, it hit me like a wave I couldn't see coming. Let me take you back just a bit, so you understand how I got here. My name is Anna, and I've lived next door to Mrs. Eleanor Thompson for over 10 years. She was the kind of woman who had everything, a big house, fancy cars, and 2 sweet kids who always waved hello. When she asked me to watch her little ones while she went on a 2-week vacation, I said yes without thinking twice. I mean, we were neighbors, almost like family in a way. But as I sat there that night, reading those words in her will, I felt my heart drop. She had left everything to someone I didn't even know, and there was no mention of me or the kids in the way I expected. Why would she do that? What secret was she hiding? I put the paper down, my mind racing with questions. The house felt so empty all of a sudden, even with the kids sleeping nearby. I wondered if I should just pretend I never saw it. But something inside me knew this was only the beginning. What would happen when she came back? Keep listening, because the truth I uncovered next will surprise you. My quiet life before it all. Let me tell you a little about myself, so you can see where this all started. I'm Anna, but everyone around here calls me Grandma Anna. I've been living in this small neighborhood for almost 40 years now, ever since my husband and I bought our little house after we got married. He passed away 10 years ago, and it left a big hole in my heart, but I have my family to keep me going. My 2 sons are grown up now. The older one, Tom, lives across town with his wife and their 3 kids. They come over every Sunday for dinner, and those grandkids of mine, oh, they light up my days with their laughter and sticky hugs. My younger son, Mike, he's farther away, out in the city working a busy job, but he calls me every week without fail. We talk about everything from the weather to his latest projects at work. I raised them both to be kind and hardworking, just like their father was. Back then, our life was simple. Picnics in the park, homemade meals, and evenings spent reading stories to the boys before bed. I worked as a school teacher for 30 years, helping other people's children learn and grow. It felt good, being part of something bigger. Now that I'm retired, I spend my time in the garden, tending to my flowers, or baking cookies for the neighbors. It's a peaceful life, one I've come to cherish after all the ups and downs. Next door to me is where Mrs. Eleanor Thompson lives. Or lived, I should say, but we'll get to that. She moved in about 12 years ago, right after her husband left her. I remember the day she arrived, with her 2 little ones in tow, looking so tired and lost. Her daughter Lily was just 4 then, with big curious eyes and a shy smile. And her son Ben, he was 2, always running around with endless energy. Eleanor was different from the rest of us. She had money from her family, you see. Her house was twice the size of mine, with a pool in the back and rooms full of fancy things. But money doesn't buy happiness, does it? She worked long hours at her job in the city, something in finance, I think. We'd wave to each other over the fence, and sometimes she'd ask me to watch the kids for an hour or 2 when she had late meetings. I didn't mind. Those children became like my own grandkids in a way. Lily would draw pictures for me, and Ben loved my stories about the old days. Over the years, we built a quiet friendship, not the kind where we shared every secret, but the kind where you can count on each other. I'd bring her soup when she was sick, and she'd invite me over for coffee now and then. Her kids grew up calling me Grandma Anna too, which warmed my heart more than anything. When she told me about her vacation, a trip to Europe she'd been planning for months, she looked so excited, but a bit worried too. "Anna," she said softly one afternoon, "would you mind staying with Lily and Ben while I'm gone? They're old enough now, 12 and 10, but I hate leaving them with just anyone." I smiled and nodded, happy to help. It was just 2 weeks after all. What could go wrong? But as I packed my small bag to stay at her house, I had no idea what was waiting for me in those quiet rooms. The kids were thrilled, planning games and movie nights. I felt good, like I was doing something meaningful again. Little did I know that first night alone in her home would lead me to a drawer I shouldn't have opened. What was hidden there? Keep listening, my dear, because the next part gets a little heavier. The days with Lily and Ben. The morning after I arrived at Eleanor's house, the sun was just peeking through the curtains in the guest room where I was staying. I woke up to the sound of little feet padding down the hallway. It was Ben, my little neighbor boy, now 10 years old but still with that same mischievous grin. He poked his head in and whispered, "Grandma Anna, are you awake? Can we have pancakes for breakfast?" I smiled and nodded, pulling myself out of bed. It felt good to start the day like that, with something simple and familiar. Down in the kitchen, Lily was already there, sitting at the table with her sketchbook. She was 12 now, growing into a quiet young girl who loved drawing more than anything. "Morning, Grandma Anna," she said softly, not looking up from her pencil. I busied myself mixing the batter, chatting with them about school and friends. Ben talked a mile a minute about his soccer team, while Lily shared a story about a book she was reading. It was peaceful, like being part of their family for real. As the days went on, we fell into a routine. I'd make breakfast, then we'd play games or go for walks in the park nearby. The house was so big, with rooms I hadn't seen much of before. Eleanor had given me a key to everything, trusting me completely. But sometimes I'd catch myself wondering about her life. She was always so put together that I remembered times when she'd seemed sad, staring out the window. One afternoon, while the kids were outside swimming in the pool, I decided to tidy up a bit. I wasn't snooping, just straightening things in the living room. That's when I first noticed the drawer in the side table, the one that was slightly ajar. But later that night, after the kids were in bed, curiosity got the better of me. I opened it, looking for some old board games Eleanor had mentioned. Instead, I found papers, bills, letters, and then that envelope marked "Last Will and Testament." My heart skipped a beat, but I told myself it was none of my business. I closed the drawer quickly, feeling a pang of guilt. The next day, things felt a little off. Ben was cranky, missing his mom, I think. "When is she coming back?" he asked over lunch, pushing his sandwich around his plate. I hugged him and said, "Soon, sweetie. Just a few more days." Lily watched us quietly, her eyes thoughtful. That evening, we watched a movie together. But my mind kept drifting back to that drawer. Why had I even looked? It wasn't like me to pry. As the week progressed, small things started to build up. I'd hear the phone ring late at night, but when I answered, no one was there. Maybe just wrong numbers, I thought. Then Lily mentioned something that made me pause. "Mom has a friend who visits sometimes," she said while we were baking cookies. "He's nice, but she doesn't talk about him much." I nodded, not wanting to ask too many questions. But inside, I wondered who this friend was. Eleanor had never mentioned anyone special. One rainy afternoon, the kids were restless, so we played hide and seek in the house. Ben hid in the study, and when I found him, he was holding an old photo album. "Look, Grandma Anna," he said, flipping through pages. There were pictures of Eleanor with a man I didn't recognize, not her ex-husband. They looked happy, arms around each other on some beach. Lily snatched it away gently. "We shouldn't look at that," she whispered. I felt a knot in my stomach, but I smiled and suggested we make hot chocolate instead. That night, I couldn't sleep. The house creaked in the wind, and my thoughts raced. Who was that man? Was Eleanor keeping secrets from everyone, even her kids? I lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling a quiet sadness wash over me. These children deserved better than hidden truths. The following morning, Ben woke up with a fever. Nothing serious, just a little bug. But it worried me. I called the doctor, and while waiting, I sat with him on the couch, reading stories. Lily helped by bringing him water and blankets. It brought us closer, those moments of care. But as I tucked him in later, he murmured, "I wish Mom was here." My heart ached for him. I wish she was too. By midday, Ben was feeling better, and we decided to draw pictures together. Lily's drawings were beautiful, flowers and houses, but one caught my eye. It was a family, but with an extra person standing apart. "Who's that?" I asked gently. She shrugged. "Just someone." I didn't push, but it lingered in my mind. That evening, after dinner, the kids wanted to call their mom. We video chatted with Eleanor, who looked tanned and happy from her trip. "Everything okay there?" she asked, smiling through the screen. The kids chattered away, telling her about our days. I stayed in the background, waving hello. But when she asked how I was, I just said, "Fine, dear, all is well." Inside, though, questions bubbled up. Why the secret friend? What else didn't I know? As the call ended, Lily turned to me. "Grandma Anna, do you think Mom is happy?" Her voice was small, full of worry. I hugged her tight. "I think she tries to be, sweetheart." But that night, alone in my room, I felt the weight of it all. The drawer called to me again, but I resisted. The next day brought more rain, so we stayed inside. Ben found an old puzzle in the attic, and we spent hours putting it together. Laughter filled the room, easing some of the tension. Yet in quiet moments, I'd glance at that side table. What if there was more in there? I shook the thought away, focusing on the kids. But then, during nap time for Ben, Lily confided in me. "Sometimes Mom cries at night," she said, twisting her hands. "I hear her when she thinks we're asleep." My heart broke a little. I held her hand. "Moms have hard days too, but she loves you both so much." She nodded, but her eyes were sad. That afternoon, while the kids watched TV, I finally gave in. I opened the drawer again, telling myself it was just to find those games. But my eyes went straight to the will. I pulled it out, hands trembling. Reading it quickly, I saw she left the house and money to a name I didn't know. Robert Klein. Who was he? And the kids, they got trust funds, but with conditions. No mention of me, which was fine, but it felt wrong somehow. I put it back, my mind spinning. Was Robert the man in the photo, the friend Lily mentioned? I felt betrayed, even though it wasn't my place. These kids were like my own, and Eleanor was my friend. Why the secrets? The evening passed in a blur. We had pizza for dinner, the kids' favorite. They laughed and played, unaware of my inner storm. But as I washed dishes, tears came, quiet ones, full of confusion and hurt. The next morning, things escalated a bit. Ben accidentally broke a vase while running around. It was nothing valuable, but Lily got upset. "Mom's going to be mad," she said, near tears. I cleaned it up, assuring them it was okay, but inside I wondered about Eleanor's reactions. Was she strict? I hadn't seen that side. Later, we went to the store for groceries. The kids picked out treats, and for a moment, all was light. But on the way home, Lily asked, "Grandma Anna, have you ever had a secret?" I paused, then said, "Everyone has some, I think." She looked at me thoughtfully. That night, after bedtime stories, I sat alone in the living room. The will haunted me. I opened the drawer once more, reading it fully this time. There were details, assets, instructions. Robert Klein was to handle everything if something happened to her. My chest tightened. What if this vacation was more than it seemed? The phone rang then, startling me. It was a man's voice. "Is Eleanor there?" he asked. I said no. "She's away." "Who is this?" But he hung up. My heart raced. Was that Robert? I didn't sleep much that night. Questions piled up like storm clouds. The kids sensed something, I think. Ben clung to me more. Lily was quieter. The following day, we baked a cake to surprise Eleanor when she returned. Flour everywhere, giggles filling the kitchen. It was a good distraction. But during cleanup, Ben said, "I miss Dad sometimes." His father had left years ago. I hugged him. "I know, sweetie." Lily added, "Mom says we don't need him." Her tone was flat. It made me sad thinking of their broken family. As evening came, I found a letter in the mail, addressed to Eleanor from a lawyer. I didn't open it, but the return address was the same as on the will. My curiosity burned. That night, the kids asleep, I stared at the envelope. Should I look? It felt wrong, but so did everything else. Finally, I opened it carefully. Inside, talk of changes to the will. Recent updates naming Robert as beneficiary. My hands shook. Why now? I resealed it, guilt flooding me. But now I knew something was changing, and fast. The tension grew. Mornings were okay, but afternoons brought doubts. The kids played, but I'd catch Lily staring off, worried. One day, Ben found a key in the garden. "What's this for?" he asked. It looked like it fit a safe or box. We searched, but found nothing. Later, Lily whispered, "I think Mom has a box in her closet." We didn't look, but it added to the mystery. Nights were hardest. I'd lie awake, piecing things together. The photo, the will, the call, the letter. Who was Robert Klein? I decided to search the house subtly. In the study, I found old letters from Robert, loving words. They were dated years back. My heart sank. An affair? But her husband left long ago. Still, why hide it from the kids? The discovery hurt. Eleanor, my friend, living a double life, but I kept it inside, focusing on the children. They needed stability. As the vacation neared its end, tension peaked, the kids excited, me dreading the confrontation. One last night, Ben had a nightmare. I comforted him, holding him close. "It's okay," I whispered. Lily joined us, the three of us huddled. In that moment, I felt protective. Whatever secrets Eleanor had, these kids came first. But what would happen when she returned? Would I tell her what I found? Keep listening, because the turning point is coming, and it's heavier than I expected. The door opened that night, but it wasn't Eleanor. The night everything changed. I remember that night so clearly, the one just before Eleanor was supposed to come home. The kids were tucked in bed, their soft breathing the only sound in the big house. I was downstairs in the living room, sipping a cup of tea, trying to calm my racing thoughts. The will, the letters, the mysterious phone call, it all swirled in my mind like a storm I couldn't escape. I had decided not to say anything when she returned. It wasn't my place, after all. These were her secrets, and I was just the neighbor helping out. But then, around midnight, I heard a key turn in the front door. My heart jumped. Eleanor wasn't due back until the next afternoon. I stood up slowly, my cup still in hand, and walked toward the hallway. The door creaked open, and a figure stepped inside. It was a man, tall and dressed in a dark coat, his face hidden in the shadows at first. He closed the door quietly, like he belonged there. When he turned, I saw him, older than Eleanor, with gray hair and a kind but tired face. He stopped when he noticed me. "Who are you?" I asked softly, my voice steady even though my knees felt weak. He hesitated, then said, "I'm Robert. Robert Klein. I'm a friend of Eleanor's." My breath caught. The name from the will, from the letters. He was real, standing right there in her home. "What are you doing here?" I whispered, glancing up the stairs to make sure the kids didn't wake. He looked around, then sighed. "Eleanor gave me a key. I come by sometimes to check on things when she's away. But who are you?" I told him my name, explained I was watching the kids. His face softened a bit. "Ah, Grandma Anna. She's mentioned you, said you're like family." We stood there awkwardly for a moment. I offered him some tea, and he accepted, sitting at the kitchen table. As I poured, questions burned inside me. Why was he here so late? What was his connection to Eleanor? But I kept my tone calm, not wanting to scare him off. We talked quietly. He said he and Eleanor had known each other for years, from work at first, then more. "She's a good woman," he said, stirring his tea. "Been through a lot with her ex-husband leaving like that." I nodded, remembering how lost she looked when she moved in. "The kids don't know about me," he added, his voice low. Eleanor wanted to keep it private until the time was right. My heart ached for Lily and Ben. They deserved to know if someone was important in their mom's life. As we spoke, he opened up more, told me about their trips together, quiet weekends away. It sounded sweet, but it hurt too, knowing she'd hidden it all. "Why now?" I asked gently. "Why come tonight?" He paused, looking down. "I got a call from her earlier. She sounded worried, said something about changing her will, making sure things were set." My stomach twisted. The letter from the lawyer. He didn't know I'd seen it. I didn't tell him about the will. Instead, I listened as he shared stories, how he'd helped Eleanor through tough times, been there when the kids were sick, once or twice. "I love her," he said simply, "and those kids mean the world to me too." Tears welled up in my eyes. It wasn't anger I felt, but sadness for the secrets weighing everyone down. But then, the conversation turned. Robert mentioned Eleanor's vacation, how she was supposed to call him when she landed back. "She didn't," he said, worry creasing his brow. "Her flight was this evening, but no word." I checked the clock. It was late. Maybe delayed? We tried her phone together, but it went straight to voicemail. A chill ran through me. We sat in silence for a bit, the house feeling heavier. Robert paced a little, then said, I should go upstairs, check if there's a note or something in her room. I followed him, not wanting him alone up there. In her bedroom, everything looked neat, just as she'd left it. He opened a drawer, the one with her jewelry, and pulled out a small box. Inside was a ring, simple and gold. I gave this to her, he whispered. We were talking about making things official. My mind raced. The will changes. Was it because of him? Leaving everything to Robert. But what about the kids? I wanted to ask, but the words stuck. Instead, I said, let's try calling again. Still no answer. Robert's face grew pale. This isn't like her. She always checks in. We went back downstairs, and that's when the phone rang. The house line. I answered, my hand shaking. It was a voice I didn't know, official sounding. Is this the Thompson residence? Yes, I said. Then the words that changed everything. There's been an accident. Eleanor's plane. It had trouble landing. She's in the hospital. My world tilted. Robert grabbed the phone, asking questions. Critical condition, they said. We needed to come right away. The kids. Oh, the kids, how would I tell them? Robert hung up, tears in his eyes. We have to go, he said. But Lily and Ben were sleeping. I couldn't leave them. I woke them gently, my voice calm even as my heart broke. Something happened to your mom, I said softly. We need to go see her. Lily's eyes widened. Ben started to cry. We bundled them into coats, Robert helping. In the car, driving to the hospital, silence hung heavy. Ben held my hand tight. Lily stared out the window. At the hospital, the lights were bright, the air cold. A doctor met us, face serious. She's stable now, but it was close. A bad landing, some injuries. We waited outside her room, the kids leaning on me. Robert paced again, worry etched deep. When they let us in, Eleanor looked small in the bed, bruises on her face, eyes closed. The kids rushed to her side, whispering, Mom. She stirred, opened her eyes weakly. My babies, she murmured. Then she saw Robert, and a soft smile. You came. I stood back, giving them space. But inside, emotions swirled. Relief, but also the weight of what I'd found. The will, the secrets. Now with her hurt, it all felt so fragile. As the night wore on, Eleanor whispered to me, Anna, thank you for being there.
Thank you so
I nodded,
much.
tears falling.
You're welcome.
But she added, there's something
Take
I need to
care.
tell you all. My heart pounded. Was this the moment? She looked at Robert, then the kids. Robert and I were together, have been for a while. Lily gasped softly. Ben looked confused. And the will, she continued, her voice faint. I changed it to include him, but the kids, they're taken care of. Trust funds, everything. I felt a quiet shock. She knew I'd find out somehow, but there was more. Anna, she said, reaching for my hand. I left something for you too. In the will. The house next door. No, wait. A gift for all you've done. My eyes widened. Me? Why? Your family, she whispered. Tears flowed freely now, from all of us. But as the doctor came back, saying she needed rest, a nurse pulled Robert aside. There's paperwork, she said, since you're named in her documents. He nodded, but his face changed. Something wasn't right. Later in the waiting room, Robert confided. The will, it's not final. She was changing it again, before the trip. My mind spun. What did that mean? The kids fell asleep on the chairs, exhausted. I watched over them, my heart full of love and confusion. Eleanor was okay, but the truths coming out, they changed everything. As dawn broke, another call came. From the lawyer. There's an issue with the will, he said. Robert listened, his face going white. I leaned in. The lawyer's voice. Eleanor updated it last week. Robert, you're not the main beneficiary anymore. My breath caught. Then who was? The kids? Or me? Robert looked at me, eyes full of questions.
So much.
The room felt tense,
You're welcome.
like a storm about to break.
Take care.
What had Eleanor done, and why? Keep listening, because the resolution brings tears and truths you won't expect. As we sat there, a stranger walked in, saying, I'm here for Eleanor. I'm her, healing the broken pieces. As we sat in that cold hospital waiting room, the door swung open slowly. A man walked in, looking worn and out of place, his coat rumpled from travel. He scanned the room, his eyes landing on Robert first, then on me and the kids. "I'm here for Eleanor," he said, his voice steady but tired. "I'm her ex-husband, David." Lily's head snapped up, her face a mix of shock and something like hope. Ben clung to my arm tighter, whispering, "Dad?" I felt the air thicken, all of us frozen in that moment. David approached carefully, kneeling down to the kids' level. "Hey, you two," he said softly, tears in his eyes. "I've missed you." Lily stood up, hesitant at first, then hugged him quick and fierce. Ben followed, burying his face in his father's shoulder. Robert watched from the side, his expression a blend of surprise and quiet acceptance. I stayed seated, giving them space, my heart swelling with unexpected warmth. After all these years, here he was, showing up when it mattered most. The doctor came out then, saying Eleanor could have more visitors. We all went in together, the room feeling fuller now. Eleanor looked at David, her eyes widening. "You came," she whispered, a weak smile on her lips. He nodded, taking her hand gently. "The hospital called me as next of kin. I had to." The kids stood between them, holding hands, a family pieced back together in that fragile way. I felt like an outsider, but in a good sense, like I'd helped make this possible. As they talked softly, bits of the past came out. David explained he'd been away, working on himself after the divorce. "I wasn't ready back then," he admitted, voice low. Eleanor nodded, tears sliding down her cheek. "I know, but the kids needed you." Robert stepped forward then, introducing himself. There was no anger, just a calm understanding. "I've been here for her," Robert said. David shook his hand. "Thank you for that." I listened, my own emotions bubbling up. The secrets I'd found, the will, the letters, they made sense now. Eleanor had been trying to protect everyone, building walls around her heart. But the accident cracked them open. She turned to me next. "Anna, you've been my rock," she said. "In the will I left you a sum of money, for all the years of kindness." My eyes filled. "You didn't have to," I whispered. But she squeezed my hand. "Yes, I did. Your family too." We spent hours there, the conversation flowing like a gentle stream, laughing a little through their tears. David promised to stay, to make up for lost time. Robert agreed to step back if needed, but Eleanor shook her head. "We can figure this out together," she said. It wasn't perfect, but it felt real, a start toward healing. Later, when the kids dozed off in the chairs, Eleanor confided more. "I changed the will because I was scared," she admitted, "scared of losing everything again." I nodded, understanding that fear all too well from my own losses. "But look what happened," I said softly. "It brought us all here." She smiled faintly, quiet revenge on my own doubts. The days after blurred into a rhythm of recovery. Eleanor came home a week later, weaker but determined. I stayed on, helping with meals and bedtime. David visited daily, playing games with Ben, drawing with Lily.
You're welcome.
Robert came too, bringing flowers and patience. There were awkward moments, sure, old hurts surfacing, but we talked them through, calm and honest. One evening, we all sat in the living room, the same one where I'd found the will. Eleanor brought out the document, laying it on the table. "Let's make this right," she said. Together we went over it, ensuring the kids were secure, adding provisions for David if he stayed involved. Robert was included, but fairly. And me? The gift remained, a token of gratitude. It felt like closing a chapter, with no bitterness, just quiet strength. As tensions eased, I saw the betrayal I'd felt melt away. It wasn't revenge I sought, but understanding. Eleanor had hidden her pain, thinking it protected us all. But opening up brought us closer. The kids bloomed, their smiles brighter. Lily drew a picture of us all together, a big, messy family. Nights were peaceful now. I'd tuck the kids in, telling stories of forgiveness and second chances. Ben would hug me tight. "Thanks for being here, Grandma Anna." Lily added, "You made everything better." Their words healed something in me too, the loneliness since my husband passed. One afternoon, Eleanor and I sat on the porch, watching the kids play. "I'm sorry for the secrets," she said. David and Robert were inside, talking like old friends. I shook my head. "No need. We all have them." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "But sharing them lightens the load." As the weeks passed, life settled. David moved closer, co-parenting with Grace. Robert proposed quietly one evening, and Eleanor said yes, with the kids' blessing. I returned to my house next door, but our doors stayed open.
Which is
Shared
fantastic.
meals, laughter over the fence. Looking back, that
Thank
vacation
you
changed us
so
all. What
much.
started
You're
as a simple
welcome.
favor uncovered
Take
layers of
care.
hurt and love. The will wasn't just paper, it was a mirror to our hearts. I realized then, forgiveness isn't loud, it's a quiet choice, day by day. And in that quiet, we found our revenge on the pain, by choosing joy instead. The kids grew stronger. Eleanor healed fully. Me, I felt richer than any inheritance. If there's a lesson here, it's this: hold your loved ones close. Share your truths when you can. Life's too short for hidden burdens. Trust me, I've lived it. This was my true story, one of care, secrets, and coming together. If you stayed hooked, please like, share, and subscribe. More grandma stories coming your way. Reflections and new beginnings. Looking back on it all now, I can hardly believe how a simple yes to watching the kids turned into something so life-changing. It's been a few months since Eleanor came home from the hospital, and things have settled into a new kind of normal. I sit on my porch most evenings, watching the sun dip low, thinking about the paths we all walked to get here. My garden blooms brighter these days, as if the flowers know the weight that's been lifted from my heart. Eleanor and I talk more openly now. We share coffee in the mornings, sometimes with David or Robert joining us. It's strange at first, having these men around who were once shadows in her life, but they've become real, with their own stories and kindnesses. David helps with the yard work, fixing things that have been broken for years. Robert brings books for the kids, ones that make them think and dream. And the children, oh, Lily and Ben, they've grown so much in such a short time. Lily's drawings now show happy families, all connected, no one standing apart. Ben runs over to my house with his soccer ball, asking me to watch him practice. Their laughter echoes between our homes, a sound that heals old wounds. I remember one quiet afternoon, just Eleanor and me in her kitchen. The kids were at school, and we were baking bread, the kind my husband used to love. "Anna," she said, kneading the dough slowly, "I was so afraid before, afraid of letting people in again." I nodded, my hands covered in flour. "We all get scared sometimes, but look what happened when you did." She smiled, tears in her eyes. "You found my will, didn't you?" I paused, then admitted it softly. "I did. It hurt at first, not understanding." She hugged me then, whispering, "I'm glad you did." It pushed everything into the light. That gift in the will, it wasn't huge, but it meant the world. Enough to fix up my house a bit, maybe take a trip to see my son Mike. But more than the money, it was the trust behind it. Eleanor saw me as more than a neighbor. She saw the care I'd given freely. It made me reflect on my own life, on the years after my husband passed. I'd poured my heart into others, thinking it filled the emptiness, and in a way, it did. But this experience showed me that love comes back around, often when you least expect it. David stayed true to his word. He rented a place nearby, seeing the kids every day. They go for ice cream after school, talk about their dreams. Ben wants to be a soccer player now, and David cheers him on at games. Lily shares her art with him, and he hangs it on his walls like treasures. There's no rushing, no forcing the past away. They build new memories, one at a time. Eleanor and David even go to counseling together, working through the old hurts. It's not a fairy tale reunion, but it's honest, and that's enough. Robert fits in too, in his gentle way. He and Eleanor plan their wedding for next spring, something small in the backyard. The kids are excited, picking out flowers and colors. Robert asked me to stand with them, like family. "You've been part of this from the start," he said. I said yes, of course. It feels right, seeing them all blend together. No jealousy, no fights, just people choosing to make it work. My own family noticed the change in me. When Tom and his kids came for Sunday dinner, they saw the light in my eyes. "You seem happier, Mom," Tom said, hugging me tight. I told him the story, bit by bit, over pie and coffee. The grandkids listened wide-eyed, asking questions about Lily and Ben. Now, they play together sometimes, our families weaving closer. Mike called more often, sensing something shifted. "Sounds like you saved them, Mom," he said. But I shook my head, even though he couldn't see. No, we saved each other. There were hard days too, don't get me wrong. Eleanor had pains from her injuries, nights when doubt crept back. I'd sit with her then, holding her hand, reminding her of the strength she'd shown. The kids had questions. about the accident, about David coming back. We answered them honestly, no more secrets. It built trust, layer by layer. I had moments of regret for opening that drawer, but then I'd see the good that came from it. The truths uncovered, the bonds strengthened. It taught me that sometimes a little curiosity opens doors we need to walk through. As summer turned to fall, we had a gathering in Eleanor's yard. All of us, me, my sons and grandkids, David, Robert, Lily, Ben. We grilled food, shared stories under the stars. Laughter mixed with quiet talks, the kind that mend hearts. Ben ran up to me, handing me a drawing. "For you, Grandma Anna," he said. It was all of us, holding hands in a circle. My eyes misted over. "It's perfect," I whispered. That night, lying in my bed, I thought about the lesson in it all. Life hands us surprises, some wrapped in pain, others in joy. But if we face them with open hearts, without anger or rush, we find our way. Betrayals can turn to bridges, secrets to shared truths. And revenge, it's not about getting even. It's about rising above, choosing kindness over hurt. I learned that caring for others, even when it's hard, brings back more than you give. Now, as I watch the leaves change, I feel a deep peace. Our neighborhood feels warmer, connected in ways it wasn't before. Eleanor waves from her window. The kids call out hello on their way to school. My phone rings with invites to dinner, plans for holidays together. It's not perfect, life never is, but it's full of hope, and that's what matters. If I could tell you one thing from my heart, it's this: cherish the people next door, the ones who become family without blood. Lend a hand when asked, listen when needed. You never know what doors it might open, what healing it might bring. In the end, love is the greatest inheritance we leave behind. This was my true story, shared with you like I'd tell a dear friend. If it touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more grandma stories. There's always another tale waiting to be told. A year of gentle changes. It's hard to believe a full year has passed since that chaotic night at the hospital. I look out my window now, seeing Eleanor's house bathed in the soft light of autumn. The leaves are turning gold and red, just like they did when everything started. My heart feels full these days, not with the sharp pains of worry, but with a steady warmth that comes from watching lives mend. I think about it often, how one small act of kindness rippled out into something so much bigger. Eleanor healed well over the months. Her bruises faded, and so did the fears that had kept her guarded for so long. She went back to work part-time, easing into it with David's help on the home front. Robert was there too, planning their future with quiet excitement. The wedding was set for spring, as they wanted, in the backyard, under blooming trees. I helped with the details, choosing simple flowers from my garden, baking the cake myself. It wasn't fancy, but it felt right. Lily picked a light blue dress, twirling in it like a dream. Ben practiced his role as ring bearer, serious and proud. The day of the wedding came with clear skies and a gentle breeze. Friends and family gathered, not too many, just the ones who mattered. My sons were there, Tom with his wife and kids, Mike flying in special. They sat beside me, whispering how proud they were. Eleanor walked down the aisle, a path of petals the kids had scattered, her hand in David's as he gave her away. It was a moment of grace, you know? No old grudges, just acceptance. Robert waited at the end, his eyes shining. They said their vows simply, promises of honesty, support, and love without walls. After the ceremony, we ate and laughed under string lights. The kids danced with everyone, their joy infectious. Ben pulled me onto the grass, spinning me around until I was breathless. Lily hugged me tight later, whispering, "Thank you for making this happen." I shook my head. It was all of you, sweetheart. The steady presence through the storm. Life after the wedding flowed like a calm river. Eleanor and Robert honeymooned briefly, a quiet trip to the coast. David stayed with the kids, and I popped over daily. It became our new routine, shared dinners, game nights across our yards. My grandkids joined often, turning our homes into a big, lively space. Tom said it reminded him of our old family gatherings, back when his dad was alive. It healed something in me, seeing the generations connect. But not everything was easy. There were bumps, as there always are. Eleanor had days when her injuries ached, reminders of the accident. She'd sit with me then, tea in hand, talking through it. I still wonder what if, she'd say softly. I'd nod. We all do. But look where we are. David struggled sometimes too, adjusting to being back in their lives. He and Robert had talks, man to man, setting boundaries with respect. The kids felt it, asking questions. Why did Dad leave? Ben wondered one evening. We explained gently. No blame, just truth. It helped them understand, forgive a little more each time. I found my own changes in that year. The money from the will let me update my home, fresh paint, a new porch swing. But I used some to start a small community group, helping other neighbors with childcare or meals. It felt good, giving back like that. People started calling me the heart of the street, which made me blush. My sons noticed. You're blooming, Mom, Mike said on a call. I laughed. Just living, dear. One quiet morning, Eleanor came over with a box. Open it, she said, eyes twinkling. Inside were photos. From the wedding, our gatherings, even old ones of me with the kids. A scrapbook, she explained, to remember. We flipped through, tears mixing with smiles. There was the picture Lily drew, all of us in a circle. It captured everything, the mess, the love. As winter came, we huddled indoors more. Snow fell softly one night, blanketing the world in white. The kids built snowmen between our houses, laughing as they rolled balls bigger than themselves. David and Robert joined, turning it into a friendly contest. Eleanor and I watched from the window, warm drinks in hand. This is what I dreamed of, she whispered. I squeezed her arm. Me too. Spring brought new life. Flowers pushed through the soil, just like hope does after hard times. The kids grew taller. Ben starting middle school, Lily discovering music. She played piano now, soft melodies drifting over. I listened from my garden, heart swelling. David coached Ben's soccer team, cheering from the sidelines. Robert read stories to them at night, his voice steady and kind. But then a small shadow appeared. Eleanor got a letter from the lawyer, old business from the will, a minor dispute over some assets. It worried her, stirring up past fears. What if it changes things? She asked me one afternoon. I held her hand. It won't. We've built stronger than that. We talked it through, calm as always. David and Robert helped sort it. No drama, just teamwork. It resolved quickly, a reminder that troubles come and go, but bonds hold. Through it all, I reflected on the lesson deeper. Life isn't about avoiding hurts. It's about facing them with open hearts. That vacation, the will, the accident, they were turning points, showing us our strengths. Betrayal felt real at first, but it was just misunderstanding in disguise. And revenge? We found it in happiness, in choosing each other every day. Now, as I sit here, the sun setting on another day, I feel grateful. Our families are intertwined, a tapestry of care and forgiveness. The kids call me every day, sharing their worlds. Eleanor waves goodnight. My own heart is lighter, full of stories to tell. But wait, there's one more thing that happened recently, something unexpected. A knock at the door late one evening, a face from the past. Who was it? Keep listening, because this twist brings us full circle. The man standing there said, I'm here about the will. There's something Eleanor didn't tell you. The hidden legacy revealed. I stood there at my front door, the evening air cool against my skin, as the man repeated his words. I'm here about the will. There's something Eleanor didn't tell you. My heart skipped a beat, but I kept my voice steady, inviting him inside. He was older, with a kind face lined by years, carrying a briefcase that looked worn from travel. I'm Mr. Harlan, he said, shaking my hand gently. Eleanor's lawyer. She asked me to come personally. We sat in my living room, the same spot where I'd shared so many quiet moments with my own family. I offered him tea, and as I poured, questions flooded my mind. What more could there be? Mr. Harlan opened his briefcase, pulling out a folder. Eleanor updated her will again, just last month, he explained softly. She wanted to make sure everything was right. I nodded, remembering the minor dispute we'd handled earlier. But this felt different, heavier. He slid a document across the table. She added a clause for you, Anna. Something special. My eyes scanned the page, and there it was. Not just the money she'd mentioned before, but a share in a family property, a small cabin by a lake that her parents had owned. She said you deserved a place of peace, he whispered. Tears welled up. I'd told her once about my dream of a quiet retreat, away from the noise. How had she remembered? We talked for a while, his voice calm like mine. He shared how Eleanor had come to him after the accident, determined to tie up loose ends. She spoke of you often, he said, called you the glue that held things together. I felt a warmth spread through me, mixed with sadness. Why hadn't she told me herself? But I knew. Eleanor was like that, giving quietly, without fanfare. As Mr. Harlan left, promising to handle the details, I sat alone, holding the papers. It was more than a gift. It was a piece of her trust, woven into my life. That night, I called Eleanor. The lawyer came, I said softly when she answered. There was a pause, then her gentle laugh. I wanted it to be a surprise. We talked late into the evening, reminiscing about the vacation, the hospital, the wedding. You changed us all, Anna, she said. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see. No, we changed together. Hanging up, I felt a deeper peace. The secrets were all out now, replaced by open hearts. The next day, I shared the news with my sons over breakfast at Tom's house. The grandkids played nearby, their chatter a sweet background. A cabin? Tom said, eyes wide. That's wonderful, Mom. Mike on video call grinned. We can all visit, make new memories. It warmed me, thinking of family trips there, picnics by the water, stories around a fire. The kids drew pictures of the lake, imagining fish and boats. I hugged them tight, grateful for these simple joys. Eleanor and I drove to the cabin a week later, just the two of us. It was a few hours away. Through winding roads lined with trees, we talked the whole way, about our lives, our losses. My parents loved this place, she said as we arrived. The cabin was small, wooden, with a porch overlooking the water. Inside, it smelled of pine and old books. We sat outside as the sun set, the lake mirroring the colors. It's yours now, partly, she whispered, for all you've given. I took her hand. Thank you. But the real gift is our friendship. We spent the weekend there, walking trails, cooking simple meals, no rush, just quiet time. It healed something in both of us, the lingering aches from the past. On the drive back, Eleanor confided more. I was going to sell it, she said, but after everything, I realized some things are meant to be shared. I nodded, understanding. Life teaches us that, doesn't it? Back home, the routine continued, but with a new layer of closeness. The kids came over more, bringing school projects, asking for advice. Lily wanted to learn baking, so we made cookies together, flour dusting the counters. Ben shared his soccer trophies, proud and beaming. David joined sometimes, telling jokes that made us all laugh. Robert read from his books, sparking discussions that lasted into the night. One evening, we had a family meeting, all of us around Eleanor's table. The will was final now, no more changes. We went over it together, ensuring everyone felt secure. The kids got their trusts for school, David a role in decisions, Robert the partnership he deserved. And me, the cabin as a haven. It felt complete, like a circle closing. But life keeps moving, doesn't it? Winter brought holidays, our homes decorated with lights. We shared Christmas dinner, gifts under the tree. My grandkids met Lily and Ben officially, playing like old friends. Eleanor gave me a key to the cabin, engraved with home away. Tears came again, happy ones. As spring returned, we planned a group trip there, packing bags, excitement in the air. The drive was full of songs and stories. At the cabin, we fished, hiked, sat by bonfires. The kids splashed in the water, adults watching with smiles. One night under stars, Eleanor said, "This is what family looks like." I agreed, my heart full. Reflecting now, I see how far we've come. From that drawer I opened, to this shared life. The betrayal I felt was just a step to understanding. And the quiet revenge? It was in our healing, in choosing love over hurt. We didn't shout or fight. We talked, forgave, grew. The lesson sinks deeper each day. Be kind, even when it's hard. Listen to the whispers of your heart. Secrets have their time, but truth brings light. I've lived it, felt it in every hug, every shared moment. But just when things felt settled, another surprise came. A letter in the mail from someone I hadn't thought of in years. Who was it from? Keep listening, my dear, because this one ties back to the beginning in ways I never expected. The envelope said, "From your husband's old friend," and inside, echoes from the past. I held that envelope in my hands for a long moment. The paper, feeling thin and fragile, like a whisper from another time. The return address was from a town I hadn't thought of in years, where my husband and I spent our early married days. From your husband's old friend, it read, with a name I vaguely remembered, Samuel, a colleague from his work back then. My heart beat a little faster as I slid my finger under the seal, pulling out a single sheet of paper. Inside, the words were simple, written in a steady hand. Dear Anna, I've held on to this for too long. Your husband asked me to keep it safe, in case you ever needed it. Now feels like the right time. Attached to the letter was an old key, small and brass, with a tag that said, Safe Deposit Box, First National Bank. I sat down at my kitchen table, the evening light fading outside. Memories flooded back. My husband John with his warm smile and quiet ways. He'd passed so suddenly, a heart attack into sleep, leaving me to navigate the world alone. We'd shared everything, or so I thought. What could this be? I called Samuel's number from the letter, my voice calm but curious. He answered on the second ring, his tone kind and familiar. Anna, it's good to hear from you after all these years. We talked for an hour, his words painting pictures of the past. Samuel and John had been close, working on projects together. He left something for you, Samuel said softly. Papers, letters, a bit of savings he tucked away. Said it was for your dreams, the ones you put aside for the family. Tears came then, quiet ones sliding down my cheeks. John had always known me so well. My wish for travel, for seeing the world beyond our neighborhood. But life got busy with the boys, and those dreams faded. Now here they were, handed back to me through time. The next morning I went to the bank, the key in my pocket like a secret. The box was there, just as Samuel said, inside a stack of letters in John's handwriting, addressed to me. I took them home, reading them one by one in my garden. They were love notes, really, words about our life, our sons, his hopes for us. And at the bottom, a certificate for a small investment, grown over the years into something meaningful, enough to fund those trips, maybe even share with the family. My heart swelled with a mix of joy and sorrow. Why had he hidden it? But I knew. John was like that, planning quietly, protecting us. I shared it with Eleanor that afternoon, over tea on her porch. The kids were playing nearby, their voices a gentle hum. It's like he's still watching over you, she said, her eyes soft. I nodded, feeling that truth deep inside. We talked about how the past shapes us, how surprises come when we least expect. Your story with the will opened doors for me, I whispered. Now this does the same. She hugged me, and in that moment, our bond felt even stronger. My sons came over that evening, worry in their eyes when I told them about the letter. But as I read John's words aloud, the room filled with warmth. Tom held my hand. Mike listened on the phone. Dad always thought ahead, Tom said, voice thick. The grandkids curled up close, sensing the emotion. It brought us together in a new way, sharing stories of John they hadn't heard before. Laughter mixed with tears, healing old gaps. The money from the box let me plan a family trip to the cabin. All of us, including Eleanor's crew. We packed cars, drove through green hills, arriving to the lake sparkling under the sun. The kids fished with David, Robert grilled meals. Eleanor and I walked the paths, talking dreams. One night by the fire, I shared John's letters. He wanted us to live fully, I said, then looked up. Like we are now. Yes, exactly like that. Back home, the echoes lingered. I framed one of John's letters, hanging it where I could see it daily. It reminded me that love doesn't end, it finds new ways. Eleanor noticed the change in me, a lighter step, more smiles. You're inspiring us all, she said one day. I shook my head. We're inspiring each other. Seasons shifted again. Summer bringing warmth and gatherings. We had picnics in the park, the kids growing taller, sharing secrets like siblings. Lily started a journal, writing her thoughts like John had. Ben asked about my husband, wanting stories. It kept his memory alive, woven into our days. But healing isn't linear. Some nights I'd miss John sharply, the empty side of the bed a reminder. I'd sit with the letters then, finding comfort in his words. Eleanor would call, sensing it somehow. Want company? She'd ask. Often I'd say yes, and we'd talk until the ache eased. Through it all, the lesson crystallized. Life's gifts come wrapped in unexpected packages. The will, the accident, now this legacy. They taught me to embrace the unknown with open arms. Betrayals fade when faced with forgiveness, and quiet strength builds the strongest homes. As I reflect now, watching the world from my porch, I feel a profound gratitude. Our blended family thrives, full of love and second chances. John's spirit lives on, guiding us gently. But then another envelope arrived, this one from the bank. Inside, a note about an account I didn't know. What could it mean? Keep listening, because this revelation connects everything in ways that will touch your heart. The statement showed deposits from years ago, steady and small, building up over time, and the name on it was Eleanor's. My neighbor, my friend. She'd been adding to this account quietly, without a word. I sat back in my chair, the kitchen quiet around me. John must have set it up before he passed. But how did Eleanor get involved? I called her right away, my voice soft with wonder. Eleanor, there's an account, with your name on the statements. She paused, then sighed gently. Come over, Anna. I'll explain. I walked next door, the familiar path feeling new somehow. She met me at the door, her eyes warm and knowing. We sat in her living room, the same one where it all began. Your husband and my father were friends, she said, pulling out an old photo from a drawer. There they were, John and her dad, smiling at some long-ago event. They worked together briefly, before we moved here. When John set up that account for you, he asked my father to watch over it if anything happened. After Dad passed, it fell to me. My heart ached with the sweetness of it. All these connections, hidden like threads in a tapestry. We talked through the afternoon, sunlight filtering through the windows. Eleanor had continued the deposits, small amounts from her own savings, honoring the promise. I didn't tell you because it was his gift, she whispered. But after the will, the accident, it felt right to let you know. Tears flowed freely now, from both of us. John's love reaching across time, through people I cherished. It tied everything together. The vacation, the secrets, the healing. Thank you, I murmured, hugging her tight. In that embrace, I felt the full circle of care. The kids came home from school then, bursting in with their energy. Lily saw our faces and asked, "What's wrong, Grandma Anna?" I smiled through the tears. Nothing, sweetheart, just happy memories. We shared the story with them, simple parts they could understand. Ben's eyes widened. Like a treasure hunt? Yes, exactly like that. They drew pictures of hidden boxes and smiling faces, adding to our growing collection of family
Look
art.
at you two
That
go.
evening, David and Robert joined us for dinner.
Having
I
so
told them
much
too,
fun
the
out
words
there.
flowing easy now. David nodded thoughtfully. Sounds like John was a good man. Robert added, and you're surrounded by good people still. We ate slowly, the table full of warmth. It reminded me how far we'd come, from strangers and secrets to this blended circle of support. In the days that followed, I used some of the account money to plan something special. A family gathering at the cabin, bigger than before. We invited everyone, my sons, grandkids, Eleanor, Robert, David, Lily, Ben. The drive was filled with chatter and songs, the kids in the back plotting adventures. At the lake we unpacked, the air fresh and promising. We spent days hiking, swimming, sharing meals by the water. One afternoon, we sat in a circle, each telling a story of kindness received. Mine was about John and Eleanor, the quiet gifts that changed lives. Lily shared about me watching them, how it made her feel safe. Ben talked of David coming back. Tears and laughter mingled, strengthening our bonds. Nights by the fire were my favorite. stars overhead, voices low. Eleanor and I would talk late, reflecting on the twists. Life surprises us, she'd say. I'd agree, but in the best ways if we let it. The kids slept soundly, dreams full of the day's joy. Waking to birdsong, starting fresh. Back home, the revelation lingered like a gentle echo. I visited John's grave one quiet morning, laying flowers and whispering thanks. You planned well, my love. It eased the
Look
last
at
bits
you
of loneliness,
two go.
knowing his care still touched us. Our
Having
neighborhood
so
flourished,
much fun out
shared
there.
barbecues, helping hands. My community group grew, other neighbors joining in. Eleanor volunteered too, her strength inspiring. The kids thrived, Lily in art classes, Ben on a soccer field. David coached, Robert cheered. My sons visited more, the cabin becoming our retreat. As another year turned, we celebrated small milestones. Eleanor's first anniversary with Robert, soft and sweet. David's birthday, with the kids baking a cake. My own days filled with purpose. The will, the accident, John's legacy, they wove a story of resilience. But in all this, the deepest lesson emerged. Love isn't loud, it's the steady acts, the hidden helps, the choices to forgive and connect. Betrayals become bridges when we cross them with empathy. And revenge on pain, it's found in joy, in living fully despite the hurts. I sit on my porch now, watching the world go by, heart at peace. Our families are one in the ways that matter.
Look at you
Calls
two
from the
go.
kids, waves from Eleanor,
Having so
life's
much
tapestry
fun out
complete,
there.
threads of love shining through. This
Look
was my
at
true
you
story,
two go.
shared from the heart. If you stayed with
Having
me through
so
it all,
much fun
feeling the
out
emotions
there.
and lessons, please like, share, and subscribe for
Look
more
at
grandma
you
stories.
two go.
There's always another tale of life,
Having
love,
so
and quiet
much
strength
fun out
waiting to
there.
be told.